With the global space race at its peak, countries from all over the world have been amplifying their efforts to become one of the few nations with a presence in the unknown. Among these nations is China, the third country in history to launch an astronaut in space. They also launched the Wentian laboratory module earlier this week to join the Tiangong space station. Keep watching this video as we tell you everything about the fascinating launch. First up, the quest for the heavens. The fact that Wentian literally translates into the quest for the heavens just makes everything so much cooler. The Wentian laboratory is a 17.9-meter, 23-ton module that was launched from the Wentian space launch site on Sunday. Just the sheer size and weight of the space lab makes it the heaviest module ever launched in space. And you're probably wondering what it took to launch such a huge lab into space. Well, nothing is too heavy or too big for the Long March 5B Remote 3 rocket. The LM-5B is easily one of the most powerful launchers in the world, with a payload capacity of 5,500 kilograms. The 23-ton module spent around 8 minutes in flight before it reached orbit and docked to the almost complete Tiangong space station. Oh, and here's the cool thing about the Tiangong space station. Like Wentian, it has a really clever meaning. Tiangong means heavenly palace. We gotta hand it to the Chinese for coming up with such awesome names for their space vehicles. But anyway, back to business. The Wentian module will serve as a scientific laboratory for astronauts to examine alien bodies. Just kidding. It's a crucial component for the space station, allowing astronauts to carry out a lot of experiments, and it'll also be a short-term living quarters for the crew during rotations. It features an airlock cabin that will serve as the main entry and exit point for extravehicular activities once the space station is completed. China has significantly sped up its space program ever since the US banned them from accessing the ISS. If everything goes according to plan, it'll take the People's Liberation Army just a little over 1 year to complete the space station. And we said the People's Liberation Army because they're the ones who head China's space program. Anyway, the nation abandoned 2 experimental stations before finally going through with the Tiangong station. The Wentian module is the second to the last attachment to be sent up into space, with the last module attachment scheduled for launch in October 2023. Now, let's talk about Mengtian. The Mengtian laboratory will be the third and last module to be sent up in space to complete the Tiangong space station. It'll be the same size as Wentian, at 17.9 meters, but weigh slightly less, around 21 tons. The module will provide a pressurized environment for researchers to conduct a lot of experiments, mainly in freefall or zero gravity. And yes, there are ways to achieve zero gravity on Earth too, but those experiments can hardly be carried out for longer than 3 or 4 minutes. So the Mengtian will help in taking China's space ambitions to the next level. But it's just another lab, right? Like, isn't that what the Wentian is for? Well, here's what makes the third module so crucial to the space station. Unlike the Wentian, the Mengtian can perform experiments outside the module as well. The outside surface will have special sensors and equipment that can collect a lot of data coming from cosmic rays, solar winds, and other particles. And yes, it also translates into something really neat. Mengtian means dreaming of the heavens in English. Next, eat my cosmic dust. When the US first announced Chinese astronauts wouldn't be able to access the International Space Station, we seriously thought the Red Dragon will be pushed out of the space race. But with allies like Russia, China seems to be leading the space race by a huge margin. Like, think about it, completing an entire space station in a little under 2 years. And once that's done, they also plan to launch their own telescope. And while it may not be as impressive as the James Webb, having a functional space station and a telescope up in space, that too in just a few years, is pretty impressive if you ask us. The space wing of the People's Liberation Army also said something which was pretty much telling the US to eat their cosmic dust as they lead the space race. In fact, they also said things like how the US isn't even a competition now, and how their real competition is the privately owned company SpaceX. And since Russia has also announced that it will be withdrawing from the International Space Program by 2024, it'll be a massive blow to the ISS. Also, we noticed something really interesting about Chinese and Russian space technologies. All of their equipment is super compatible with each other, like how the Tiangong closely resembles the Russian Mir space station, and how China's Shenzhou spacecraft is almost identical to the Soyuz spacecraft. Time for some more about space. Up next, nothing to worry about. Since we've told you pretty much everything there is to know about China's new space station, aren't you going to ask what happened to the rocket? Is it just floating in space? Or is it coming crashing down to Earth? Well, as much as we'd like it to be the first option, space is already kind of a junkyard. So space agencies don't really have any other choice rather than trying to bring it down to Earth with as much control as possible. Engineers and scientists have no idea where those huge rocket debris will land once they re-enter the atmosphere. Of course, they can tell a good couple of hours before impact, but even then, why does it feel like we're sitting ducks? The same rocket which was used by the Chinese to send up their second module is scheduled to re-enter and streak through the atmosphere in the coming days. Beijing says it doesn't pose a risk to anyone on Earth, but where where is it going to land? Like, what if it ends up landing on a house or something? And no, not all of the debris will burn to ash when it re-enters our atmosphere. Some chunks will slip through. And you want to know the scary bit? Independent US-based analysts predicted that numerous chunks will probably rain over an area of nearly 2,000 kilometers. Anyway, the fact that you're watching this video means you've managed to stay safe from a literal rocket shower. Most of the debris has probably already entered our atmosphere and is either burnt or lying somewhere in the ocean or a park, who knows. And now for space garbage. Since we're on the topic of debris and space junk, we think you'll find it really interesting that a large piece of debris was found in the middle of a sheep paddock near the NSW Snowy Mountains. Frankly speaking, the debris does look like it's a piece from a rocket or something, not to mention how residents heard a huge bang earlier this month before finding the junk just casually poking out of the ground. So now we have to deal with space junk? Like, wasn't Earth's garbage enough? Anyway, a lot of people are claiming it's part from a SpaceX rocket since they've been launching stuff up in the sky like crazy for the past couple of months. The company has been asked to make a comment on the debris, but it's been a good couple of weeks and they've yet to respond. Also, if you didn't take the whole rocket debris coming crashing down to Earth seriously, let this be a warning. Finally, another blow to NASA. If falling behind in the space race wasn't enough, NASA has taken another hit as it'll probably face more delay in its plan to land a lunar vehicle on the moon. NASA had contracted Mengtian Space Systems to develop the lunar lander for their mission, which was originally scheduled for 2022. At first, Mengtian Space Systems claimed they had to push the launch forward by a couple of months because of some serious issues in their supply chain caused by the coronavirus pandemic. All right, that's understandable. Then all of a sudden, they pushed the launch to 2023, and just today, Mengtian has filed for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, dealing a serious blow to NASA's ambitions of evening the playing field. NASA issued almost $76 million to Mengtian to develop the XL-1 lunar lander. Anyway, Mengtian is still hopeful they'll be able to deliver by 2023, using the Chapter 11 bankruptcy to streamline their operations and get development underway. The funny thing is, Mengtian also owes SpaceX about $5 million since they were supposed to launch it into space. So let's see. At the end of the day, all we want is to know more about the mysteries of space, and we hope this doesn't turn into an ugly rat race pushing science out of the equation. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Is China set to overtake the US in the space race? And what do you think of the Tiangong space station? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.